Hi, everyone. My name is Hannah Becker, and I am excited to join you today to talk about Millennials and Gen Zers, two generations that are radically changing our world. So, these two generations, while close in age and sharing some similarities, are not the same. We've got some distinctions being observed. Uh, so, today's kind of goal with this webinar is to talk about who these two generations are, what they value, and how they engage in the world as it relates to public sector organizations. As we go through this content, I would really encourage you to keep in mind the question, is my organization ready for a millennial and Gen Z future? If not, hopefully today you'll get some actionable strategies that can help prepare your organization for what's ahead. A little bit about our company. My name is Hannah Becker. I'm a partner at Becker Digital. We are a service-disabled, veteran-owned small business located in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, near the Blue Ridge Mountains, about 3 hours outside of Washington, D.C. We specialize in supporting public sector clients, so government agencies, nonprofit organizations. Our areas of demonstrated expertise include communications, marketing strategy, social media, and web design. And here's a few of the organizations we've had the pleasure of supporting. If you'd like more information about our work, you can visit our website at becker-digital.com and pull up some of our case studies. My background has been in social media and generational marketing for well over a decade. So I got started in this when millennials were coming on the scene and organizations were struggling to connect with this unique adult generation. Now my work is kind of a mix of millennial focused outreach as well as Gen Zers. In addition to my work with Becker Digital, I am a faculty member at Virginia Military Institute and currently serve on the Armed Forces Communications and Electronics Association Cyber Committee in Northern Virginia. I know we're going to cover a lot of information today. You may have questions. My email is at the bottom of this slide, hannah@becker-digital.com, if you'd like to reach out. I'm also very active on LinkedIn and would love to connect with you. All right, with that, I want to get started. So I want you to think, what characteristics, what words come to mind when you hear the terms millennials or Gen Zers? There's no right or wrong answer here. What comes to mind? I'll give you some examples of characteristics that have been named off in discussions in previous trainings like this. Techie, young, diverse, loners, hustlers, progressive, hipsters, educated, frugal, busy, demanding, well-traveled. Some of those characteristics may be accurate. Some of them may only be partially accurate, and some of them may be totally inaccurate. And hopefully today, as we go through kind of introducing you to these generations and how they interact with organizations, you'll have a better handle based on facts in terms of who these generations are and what characteristics are associated with them. But before we dig in, I wanted to kind of issue a little bit of a disclaimer when it comes to generational science. Generational science is basically grouping of people based on age and shared attitudes, behaviors, experiences, and priorities. The concept behind this is that certain groups of people at certain stages in human development experience events distinctly and walk away with distinct paradigms from that. So while the entire world, everyone alive, may have experienced the same event, people that are at critical kind of milestones in their life may react a little differently and also consistently with their age group, hence generations. There are subgroups and many variations that exist within each generation. So as we talk about characteristics that are commonly or frequently assigned to millennials and Gen Zers, I just want you to know that, there's always exceptions, there's always subgroups, and it's not kind of, none of this should be taken as a blanket statement. When you're trying to develop generationally informed marketing and management strategies for your organization, you want to engage in that practice with the awareness that there are exceptions, there are subgroups, so that your strategy will be more effective. All right, so we've got a multi-generational workforce. These are the 4 key adult generations currently engaged in the American workforce. So we've got baby boomers born 1946 to 1964. Baby boomers are currently in 2022, age 58 to 76. So our retirees, our senior leaders. Gen Xers, the smallest of the adult population. They're born 1965 to roughly 1980. They're age 42 to 57. A lot of Gen Xers in middle management, a lot of Gen Xers in senior leadership. Then we've got millennials. This is the largest generation in America today. They're born 1981 to 1996, age 26 to 41. And right behind millennials, we've got Gen Zers. Their age range is not, or birth year range, 1997 to 2012. They're age 10 to 25. So the youngest members of our modern workforce. If you looked into generational data previously, you may see some variation in these birth year ranges. These are the definitions, the working definitions that I currently use. It's important to note that these ranges often change as sociologists start to observe different trends and different behaviors. We may see a year or two reallocated to the neighboring generation as we see differences emerge. So that's just something, knowing that that's kind of fluid to track on. So in 2016, millennials became the largest generation in the American workforce. They overtook Gen Xers, they overtook boomers. Gen Zers are coming right behind them. Millennials are rapidly assuming managerial and leadership roles within organizations. So we're having in our organizations today, we're having a lot of turnover, kind of a handing over of power. With millennials assuming more managerial roles, we see an increase in income. So we also see growth in millennial buying power from a consumer standpoint. So I want to introduce you to who the millennials and Gen Zers are. So who they actually are based on facts, not on stereotypes or funny memes that you find on the internet. So millennials, you may also see referred to as Generation Y. They are the largest and most educated, as defined by college degrees, generation in American history. No more millennials are being born. However, this demographic in America continues to grow through immigration. A key distinction about millennials versus Gen Zers is that many millennials remember a world before social media and smartphones. They are true digital adopters versus digital natives, the term that I feel is more appropriately ascribed to Gen Zers. So Gen Zers, 98% of Gen Zers report owning a smartphone. And nearly half of this generation spends more than 10 hours a day on their mobile devices. Now, you have to think back to the age range of Gen Zers. And in 2022, they're aged 10 to 25. My hope is that usage of smartphones, the 10 hours a day, that number declines as this generation gets jobs, start families, has more adult responsibilities. But that's just something we'll have to track and see how that plays out. Gen Zers are on track to become the most racially and ethnically diverse generation in American history. And they are also more likely than millennials to be a second generation college graduate. These two generations encountered different events at pivotal points in their development. And it's often observed that within generations, depending on what stage of development they are as adults or young adults, that they encounter these events, can influence kind of the paradigms and the perspectives that they demonstrate following these events. With millennials, a few of the events, this isn't an exhaustive list, this is just a few of the events that are noted as potentially influencing their value system. Y2K, the terrorist attacks in 9/11, global war on terrorism, Iraq, Afghanistan, the Great Recession and its associated unemployment and underemployment, and also the student loan crisis. Gen Zers are reaching adulthood, encountering different events. They have witnessed corporate social responsibility being more of a norm than an exception. The Me Too movement, utilizing social media to hold organizational leaders accountable, Deepwater Horizon oil spill and related environmental disasters, racial injustice protest, and also the COVID-19 pandemic. Many Gen Zers were in high school, starting college when the pandemic hit, and so they've spent years virtual learning. We're just going to have to kind of wait and see how that impacts their perspective on the world around them. So these two generations are similar on many things. Both millennials and Gen Zers, regardless of political party affiliation, report similar views on climate and energy policies, DEIA practices, that's diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, and also gender equality. Additionally, these two generations report very, very low trust in government agencies and government officials. These two generations are redefining work norms. They're very entrepreneurial, whether in starting their own business or blazing their own trail in how they develop their career. And they have very high digital expectations. They expect the people that they work with to know how to utilize technology in an efficient and effective way, along with the organizations in which they engage with. However, there are key differences here, and I think this ties into when technology, specifically smartphones and social media, entered their lives. So millennials remember a world without smartphones, whereas Gen Zers, many of them had an extensive digital footprint in terms of photos and videos and content about them uploaded to social media by their parents before they even came of age and could figure out how to use a smartphone. That's something many millennials did not have to kind of deal with. So very generation specific on that front. And we see this influence how these two generations differ related to privacy. Millennials tend to be less concerned with personal privacy online. They will sign up for all your email newsletters and put in a lot of personal data online, documenting their life on social media. Gen Zers, much more cautious. Additionally, they're looking for different features, a different experience on social media apps than millennials tend to. Gen Zers prioritize social media apps that offer ephemeral content, that's disappearing content, like the social media stories that disappear after 24 hours. They also want an unfiltered look into someone's life. Hence their immense patronage of the Be Real social media app. The way this app works is at a random time during the day, you're given a 2-minute window to post something. You don't have time to curate it. You don't have time to edit it. It's unfiltered. It's authentic. It's real. That's an app experience that Gen Zers are really seeking out. And we see that be very different than what millennials have historically prioritized in terms of social media app experiences. To give you an idea in terms of social media app popularity, the average US adult population, Facebook and YouTube are the most popular as defined by monthly active users. Gen Zers tend to patronize different social media apps, such as TikTok, Snapchat, and Instagram, as well as things like Be Real. So we've got these two generations, and they've got some shared challenges in terms of how organizations are trying or failing at engaging them. So the two key challenges, recruitment and retention. On the recruitment front, organizations are struggling to recruit millennial and Gen Z talent. And it's not just businesses. Government agencies, the US military, struggling to recruit members of these two generations. Additionally, many established brands are struggling to recruit new customers. The marketing strategies that worked pre-pandemic aren't working now. And so it's been kind of an uphill challenge on that front. Additionally, organizations are struggling in retaining millennial and Gen Z talent. We've got millennials and Gen Zers simply walking off the job, quiet quitting, not being engaged in their work. There's kind of a different level of apathy and different approach in terms of accountability, whether that's on the employee or the employer, in terms of the overall work experience. And millennials, Gen Zers appear to be quite aligned on their approach to this. I like this quote by George Orwell. He said, "Every generation imagines itself to be more intelligent than the one that went before it and wiser than the one that comes after it." So we see kind of how this potential generational conflict comes into the modern workplace. Two generations, millennials and Gen Zers, they tend to be the younger team members. They're very aligned in terms of work values and goals. Their career, they're not here to sign up to sell their soul to their employer. Their career checks a box. It has a role in their life. It is to provide, basically the resources needed for them to create the life that they want. And so we're seeing a little different kind of approach in the place in which they put career and work in their life level of priorities. These two generations are very similar in their level of demonstrated loyalty to employers, and it's very low. They demonstrate very low loyalty to employers. I think this is very likely influenced by the Great Recession. Millennials were influenced by the Great Recession directly, firsthand. They graduated college and went right back to the job they worked in high school because the job market was horrific. Gen Zers heard secondhand about the Great Recession and have questioned things like the value of a college degree and how they want to approach their career, as also whether or not they can trust organizations. These two generations come into the workplace with very similar expectations. They expect face time with their managers. Even if they hold the most entry-level position within an organization, they expect to be able to engage senior leadership with their ideas, their feedback, their thoughts, their questions. They expect to have a flexible career option. They are not developing their careers in the same way their parents did. If they want to take a sabbatical to hike the Appalachian Trail, that could be something that employer needs to evaluate how that could fit in, because it's going to be key for retaining this talent. They expect their employers to know how to use digital communications effectively. They know what they're worth on the job market. The job market is hot right now, and they expect competitive salaries. If you're not offering it, they're going to go work for your competitor. And then additionally, work-life balance. And this to me, the way I think about this is kind of like a stress to income to impact ratio. So I know that's hard to quantify, but basically, if you're looking at a career or a job opportunity, you're evaluating how much stress is this going to infuse in my life? What is the expected return, the income off this job? And then do I have the opportunity to drive positive impact in my community through my work? So that's kind of a ratio that I feel like kind of summarizes the millennial Gen Z approach in terms of work-life balance. So in terms of recruiting and retaining millennial and Gen Z talent, it's important that organizational leaders realize that what worked for previous generations may not work today. These two generations have had different experiences, and as the result, different drivers, different perspectives. Kind of innovating your organization in a way that makes it more millennial and Gen Z friendly is going to be an essential component of sustainable success. A few tips for doing this. recommend you involve millennials and Gen Zers in your organization's planning for recruitment and retention. Solicit their feedback, invite their suggestions, and try out some of their generationally informed strategies. It's important to note that a happy millennial or Gen Z employee is likely to be one of your best recruiting tools. If they like working for you, they are going to tell all their friends and they're going to post it online. So prospective hires, when they're researching your firm or your agency, they're going to find these positive reviews, these positive accounts of working at your organization. Now, that's kind of a double-sided coin, because if you've got an unhappy millennial or Gen Z employee, what they put online about working for you can really negatively impact your recruiting strategies. All right, so I know that kind of went over recruiting, retention management, but I wanted to talk about marketing, connecting with millennials and Gen Zers. So these two generations are virtually immune to traditional advertisements. They consume so much digital content every day. They just simply tune out or scroll past spammy commercial looking stuff. They really prioritize authenticity and transparency in the content that they are consuming online. Hence the emergence and the success of influencer marketing. This is content not created by the organization, but created by what millennials, or who millennials and Gen Zers may view as a peer, and thus, again, viewed by millennials, Gen Zers as possibly more accurate, more genuine than whatever, your agency's communications department's going to put out in a press release. These two generations are both very active on social media. However, they tend to use different apps and have different usage patterns. Millennials tend to broadcast more in terms of, here's a selfie, this is my life, this is what I've got going on. Whereas Gen Zers are emerging as a generation that really uses social media for research. And we're gonna talk about that here in a few slides. So these two generations, they also share very short attention spans. Millennials, 12 seconds, Gen Zers, 8 seconds on average, which means if you're a marketing professional, you got about 3 seconds to hook them before they scroll past. So these two generations do differ, and here are a few characteristics they differ on as it relates to marketing. Millennials tend to be very cost conscious, whereas Gen Zers, if they want something and they can't afford it, they're going to put their energy in, instead of shopping around, they're just going to increase their income so they can get it. Millennials are less concerned about internet privacy, while Gen Zers are very, very, very concerned about internet privacy. Millennials are more willing to take risks, whereas Gen Zers are more risk averse. Millennials are noted as being frequent users of Instagram and LinkedIn, whereas Gen Zers, the social media apps that offer some element of disappearing content, such as Snapchat and TikTok, rank as one of their most popular. So when we talk about social media popularity, it's important to note that what's popular today may not be popular tomorrow. Social media popularity changes, and an example of this is Facebook. So way back almost 20 years ago, when Facebook started out, it was a millennial-focused social media platform. It actually required you to have a .edu email address to secure an account. So we fast forward 18 years, and the fastest growing demographic of Facebook users is no longer millennials. It's actually baby boomers, specifically 65-year-old and older. So we've seen in 18 years, drastic shift in the user base of Facebook. So these two generations, in terms of similarities, what works on how to engage them, you're going to want to implement a multi-platform marketing approach. There is not one social media app that is going to be a silver bullet for you on this. These two generations want to engage with organizations and people online. They do not want to be sold to. Anything that is direct kind of selling, this is who we are, our product is awesome, you should buy our product, it is awesome, you should buy it, here's what you do to buy it, they're going to tune you out. That is not what they want to consume. They're looking for content that enriches their lives, improves quality of life. So in terms of what we're putting out, what we're marketing our company or agency through online, we want to keep that in mind, value add. Organizations should really lean on building trust through social media. This is a long game. It's not something that's going to happen overnight or with one ad campaign, but it needs to be intentional, and you need to be consistent, and you need to demonstrate that your organization is trustworthy through accountability and transparency on social media. As we build trust with our target audience, our community, we can foster long-term relationships, which can pay in dividends in the long run. So specifically with Gen Zers, social media is actually replacing search engines like Google for Gen Zers. So if they want to learn about an organization, like say they're looking at colleges, instead of typing in Google the college or university that they want to learn more about, they will go to TikTok and Instagram and look for user-generated social media content related to that organization. In 2022, approximately 40% of Gen Zers reported using social media apps over Google. So this new consumer or user behavior development makes user-generated social media content a key to successful marketing. So we want to think about this, because as an organization, we don't dictate what's posted about us online, but we can ensure that there is some positive stuff being put out about our organization online. So that's something that you want to be aware of, and kind of add that element of reputation management into your marketing process. All right, so 2 generations radically influencing our future. As we think about a millennial and Gen Z friendly organization or future, here in 20 years, are we going to be living like the Jetsons? Or maybe we already do live like the Jetsons. I thought this meme was really funny. So we've got George in his home office being yelled at by his boss, online workout classes, telemedicine, video call. We're still just waiting on the space cars. Our world is really changing, and the pandemic has prompted numerous kind of radical changes on multiple fronts. We've seen really strong shifts in professional and personal priorities. We're observing very high levels of burnout, very high levels of employee turnover. And when you think about kind of the operating environment that your organization exists in, there remains a high level of uncertainty. Some of this uncertainty is public health, economic, financial, and even national security. So for organizations that want to become better positioned to connect and engage millennials and Gen Zers, they need to remain agile and responsive. Our world is changing. A lot of the things we did before the pandemic in terms of management and marketing, totally irrelevant now. It's not effective in this new phase or post-pandemic era that we're finding ourselves in. Many aspects of work and many aspects of how people shop and engage with their world have drastically changed. So as organizational leaders, we want to really prioritize monitoring generational data and trends. And with that, I would caution you to try to pull the more recent data, because with millennials and Gen Zers, there have been some key shifts in consumer behavior and kind of career priorities that we've observed since the pandemic. We also want to integrate empathy and engagement in our organization's kind of approach. The world's uncertain. we see this in terms of what's on the mind of our employees and also what's on the mind of consumers we're trying to reach. We want to focus on solutions and tie in our offering into solving problems and improving quality of life. We also want to communicate kind of that we are mission minded as an organization and offer the opportunity for employees, prospective employees, customers, prospective customers to kind of become part of that mission that strengthens our communities. Okay. So I know that was a lot of information. Some of my references. If you would like more information on millennials and Gen Zers, I know that just kind of scratched the surface. I would encourage you to visit our website at becker-digital.com. And up at the top right-hand corner, we've got a resources tab. You can sign up for our newsletter. We send out a quarterly newsletter, which is like a roundup of generational specific stuff. Our blog has a lot of good kind of diving in a little deeper into these topics. And then also our webinars tab has a list of any upcoming webinars that we have and also recordings of past webinars. All of that is available 100% free. I would really encourage you to check that out. You can also reach out to us if you'd like to continue the conversation on millennials and Gen Zers and how they're impacting your organization. Becker Digital is available for consulting and for projects related to generational marketing and management strategies. And you can find out more about that at becker-digital.com or reach out to us, email, social media, phone call. And we'd love to set up a consultation and just kind of chat about your organization, the challenges that it's facing, and how we can support you as you strengthen your organization in a way that makes it more ready for our millennial and Gen Z future. So with that, I thank you for your time and attention and look forward to connecting with you at the conclusion of this webinar. Have a wonderful day.